Hey everybody, Tony here. If you're like me, occasionally you like to pick up things for your bags and some different gear for whether it's for camping, survival, etc. And today I picked up a new backpack. Now the reason with that is I've got plenty of bags and backpacks. I mean, I got stacks of them. But what I have is I've got behind me here is a couple of my bags that I have, the go bags. One I just recently did, and where is it? Right there. With some remnants that I had laying around. But in the back of my truck, underneath my seat, is I have a place where I can stow something that's just right within arm's reach of me should something happen. So what I've decided is I picked up a new guy right here, which I'll show you in just a moment, by Fox Tactical, and I'm going to take some of the things that I have currently in different bags, and I go through occasionally what I call an edit. I will edit what I have, decide whether or not it needs to stay or go. Right now, as we're in Ohio getting ready to go to fall season where it's going to get colder, so I'm going to edit some things and see what I come up with. And first of all, I'll give you a review of my new bag by Fox Tactical. Okay everybody, what you see here is my new bag that I just picked up today. It is from, as you can see, Fox Tactical. It's kind of nice, got a little morale patch on it. And it is the Cobra Gold Reconnaissance Bag. Renaissance. Getting my words all mixed up. But anyway, if you can kind of see on the size here, it is 18.5 by 11 by 9. These are some of the features that I'm going to go through. But anyway, as you can see, my truck here is black, and I wanted something to not just coincide with that, but kind of somewhere between full-on camo and gray man, but I kind of like the tactical black. I just picked it up. It actually took me like 20 minutes to kind of narrow it down from the multitude of colors that they have. But let me kind of show you here what we got, and I'll give you a little bit of a review. Okay, just to start here, if you can see, as it does have on the outside, is a nice pocket. Kind of hard to do this one-handed. On the outside, it's got a space where you probably could put some comms, maybe a few little food items in there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. Underneath, it does have some, you know, the hook and loop, which is, this is actually the loop part, so that way if you want to put morale patches, what have you. I like the fact that it has a place here where you could attach, you know, even a small one-man tent, perhaps a bedroll or something of that nature. Besides, does have some places for attachment. And if you can kind of see right there, I'll kind of set this down right here. If you can kind of see right here, it does have a place for a hydration bladder, which is also on the inside. Nice padding on the back, padded straps, D-rings, and also has chest strap. What I like is they have on the straps around, or you can see here the ways that they cinch up for the excess you know, lengths of strapping that they have here, so that way it doesn't get caught or just kind of dangle free. I like my packs to be a little bit cleaner. So one thing I like here too is it does have a nice, you know, grip, because where I am looking to put this is in the back of my truck, which I'll show you here in just a moment. The inside does have a little zipper pouch, you know, plenty of space below here, a little mesh area, so that way you can put a variety of different sized items. And, you know, kind of a nice, relatively open-sized pouch down and through here. The inside, as you can see, kind of opens up virtually clamshell. You know, nice large mesh compartment here. Another one down here, as well as, if you can kind of see, a good amount of space. It will be open, so I'll be looking for a way to kind of keep those items kind of separate. Probably like my med kit and what have you. But anyway, I'm kind of excited to put this together here. And let me see what I can do with this as one of my new toys. Okay, this is going to be my first backpack. As you can kind of see, my other two here have been shoulder bag designs. Now, one thing I found with carrying these, or even schlepping them around from truck to home, is, you know, having them go over one shoulder is they're not as secure. Also, too, is it does pull on one shoulder, and these guys get kind of heavy and they can kind of move about when you're walking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear everything out of both of these. And I do want to come up to where I still have one and then another in the backpack here. But these are also some items that I had in the back of my truck. I got some extra food, some extra water pouches, a little blanket here. I've got some of the N95 masks. Whether or not I'll use the off, I think I do have bug spray in both of those. I do love my spool tool. This is awesome here. Keeps an entire hank of 550 paracord. I've got the kind that you can kind of break down into smaller items, including fire tinder, carabiner, and a little bit lighter. It's also got a cutter on it too. Where are you? Oh, right there. So that way it'll help you cut a chosen length. Got a couple mesh bags, so that way when I put stuff in here. I've also got my saw, the Bushcraft Essential Stove, which is very small, virtually rather lightweight. Another little fire kit's got tinder, fat wood, jute twine, variety of things held together with a ranger band. This is just a dry bag that I had. And this is also a little bit of a cooking grill screen that maybe I'll add into this as well. So these are some items that were just kind of floating in the back of my truck, and I'd like to kind of edit these bags to see what's best to go into here, perhaps keeping this one around for my camping and kayaking, and this one may or may not go back in the closet. I'm not sure yet, but it would be nice if I could figure out, which I probably will, is end up getting this one full, because I do have 3 cars, and right now is only these 2 active bags, and the rest of my gear is kind of loose. So anyway, that's where I'm going to go from here, and we'll start tearing these guys apart to get this guy beefed up and in the back of that truck. Now from here, as if you can see in the back of my back seat of my truck, which I've shown in my truck gear loadout bag, is I've got this organizer back here, and this is where I kind of took some of the items you saw in the back of the truck. But what my goal is to be able to figure out how this guy will probably fit in that specific area there and still fit underneath this seat when it's closed. So my goal is to get this thing filled up. This has a little bit of give here, so that way as it can kind of come up a little bit right in through here, but I can't get this thing too pregnant that way. I can't even fit it underneath my seat. I do not want this just kind of sitting out in the open, that if somebody's going to steal it, they're going to have to earn it. So alright guys, if you can see, as I've got the bags emptied here, and these are all the items that I had in the back of the truck that I wanted to enter, and in this bag. I'll go slow, and I'm going to apologize in advance for neighbor kids are a little crazy today. But just a variety of items from fire and cordage and extra water and what have you. Again, most of these were in that bag, or a lot of these items here were already in the back of the car. Pardon the airplanes too, it's been busy. I don't know if it's Hurricane Irma and causing traffic. These items here are in the back of that bag, and I already have a video on that if you want to go ahead and check that out, actually on both of them, so that's why I'm not going to go into great detail now. But what I'm going to do here is go between these items and kind of choose what's going to be best to go into this bag, and then I'll have some of these left over, and then which one of those 2 bags will be best to kind of put the remainder in. So anyway, now the editing begins. So whereas I see some things in here that are already I wish that I would have had from that pile, like I kind of like I like my Mora knife because it's the Light My Fire that's also got the fire steel on it. I may want to do, for example, this Bushcraft stove that you assemble. I don't know if I can get it open. Probably not. I mean, that's why you're supposed to have good Velcro. But anyway, this stove as opposed to this one, which is kind of an Nesbitt knockoff. And so that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to kind of go through here, pick out from these items. Like, for example, do I want to, this emergency straw, my Sawyer filter, but I'd rather have this water straw. I've also got purification tabs. So that's what I'm going to do now, so that way I can kind of utilize the best space there, but also kind of, so to speak, rearrange the furniture in the gear that I have. But anyway, here I go. Alright everybody, I'll show you what I came up with here. This again is the backpack that I just got today that I want to be able to use in the back of my truck, or to have with me as kind of a primary go bag, 24-hour bag, what have you. I'm not going to get caught up in the names right now. This is the bag I used to have back there, but it got stuffed fuller than a Christmas turkey. Plus, I didn't have room for things that I thought were important, such as, a nice size med kit, and a couple other things. So I decided to get something that's a little bit bigger, but it will still fit in the storage compartment that I have dedicated to my truck. These are a couple things that I wasn't sure. This is an actual footprint for a one-man tent, but it could be used as a tarp. You know, relatively waterproof. It's thin, it's lightweight, small, as you can see. And this is just a small little blanket that I usually keep in the back of the truck. But I now have a lightweight and ultralight quilt and a wool blanket back there. So whether or not that makes it into here, not sure. These are the items that I'm going to put back in this bag here. I'm not going to go in too much detail on that because that's not really what this is about, but I've got a couple of the 3mm contractor bags that would give me, especially with a little bit of duct tape, some substantial protection from the elements if I needed to, whether on the ground or above me. I also have this stainless steel cup that I can use for food prep, boiling water, etc. I've got right here is a dry bag that's waterproof. I could use it to either protect any of these items, a phone, etc., or gather water. This is just a simple, you know, kind of a day ration, everything from a cup of soup, coffee, as you can see, Cliff Bars, 5-hour energy, peanut butter, etc. Got a little bit of, you know, tape on here that way is if I needed to secure something, protect from blisters, yada yada. A little bit of off-out woods. This guy here is one of my, it's my favorite Bushcraft knife right now, and this thing I got for like 15 bucks. It's a Perkin. I've used it to baton, I've used it to make fire sticks. It's got a great heft. I love the handle. You know, it's really nice, you know, full tank. So really like this guy. I'm not going to get into it right now. Maybe I'll do a review later. Came with a really nice, you know, thick leather sheath for it. So anyway, comms, CB radio, also does weather emergency. Some, you know, whether or not TP, blow your nose, what have you. Probably add more of that, which I'm going to add to my list here. TP, and we'll continue from there. Multi-tool. I've got a couple of hand warmers, again some sanitizer, more off. I've got a med kit here. There's another small kind of a boo-boo kit, some extra Advil, some sting relief, and some nitrile gloves. This kit has a Silcock key for accessing outdoor water sources, especially in an urban environment. I've got you know, water purification, some of those you know, instant towels that you just add water, a little bit of super glue, small candles, some trash bags. I've got a knife sharpener, some fishing line, chapstick, just a cornucopia of goodies in there. I've got also one of those kind of pole saws. I always have a map of the United States and also a map of the county that I'm in. People say, well, I've got a phone, I got a GPS. Well, if power runs out, no, you don't. Also from here too is ways to be able to read that, is I've got you know, the magnifying lens here for fire starting, but also too is you can use it to actually see things if you got a splinter, what have you. If your eyes aren't the greatest like me. I've got a pair of some readers, a couple N95 masks, flashlight, smaller flashlight. I've got a bigger one, but I'll probably throw it in the bag. And then a couple of you know, small glow sticks with a string on them so you can kind of twirl them for kind of a big arc of light for signaling. Extra carabiner. This is a pad here. I've got a Right and a Rain over here, which I'll probably replace that. But eventually, or even right now, is I can use it for post-it notes if you need to stick a note on the car or leave a note for somebody, or just fire tinder. Carabiner, pencil. I also use this kind of pencil. If that sucker breaks, you can use your knife to kind of carve this down. Mechanics gloves. They got kind of the tactile exterior on them. A couple ways to you know, gather water, 2-gallon bags, and also some smaller sandwich bags if I again need to protect gear, gather water, what have you. Kind of a knockoff Esbit. This thing is you know, I don't know if I can get it open here one-handed. And again, I'm not going to knock all my contents over, but this thing is full of the fire starters. I got myself a headlamp. This little guy's something I kind of got off of Amazon. It was relatively cheap, but it did have a level, magnifying glass. It's got a compass, signaling mirror on the outside of it. Somewhere, whoop, oh, there it is. It does have a whistle. So a couple hanks of cord. This thing's filled with batteries, space blanket, redundancies in fire, a couple lighters. This thing is filled with fat wood, sawdust, some matches, as well as this thing has some other ways that you know, I can kind of start a fire. Let me see. And you can also use something like the, what is it, the fireproof matches, etc. And a striker. So there's that guy. Also got a solar powered charger. Let me see here on the sides. It'll take a USB and a USB, and then it's got let me see here, little LED light. And again, as if your other backup power goes down, you can use this guy. Rain poncho, some wet ones, water straw, and then I've also got this guy here. So right now, as I'm going to kind of go through, and I've been making a list of things that I definitely need a canteen. I want a hand-powered crank radio, so that way, as if you're using it for a go bag, shit hits the fan, morale, what have you, it's good to be able to always have a radio. And then, as I wrote down there, is another source of either TP, just to add an extra packet there. If you need to wipe your nether regions, your nose, what have you. So that's that guy. Oh yes, and I wanted to quickly add, I do have a little extra duct tape here, so that way if I did need to kind of secure these tarps together, but just duct tape, just to have duct tape, secured it with a zip tie. And then the other thing for non-lethal self-defense is I do have a concealed carry, so whether or not and what I have on me is yet to be determined, but it's kind of nice to have this. This also kind of stains the perpetrator too, so that way they get kind of a nice little added coloring. But I could always, a knife's a knife, and this one also has a knife on it too, so I have a little redundancy there. But as far as just wanted to add those couple things. Hey everybody, I'm going to take a quick break in the video now as I was coming to edit this video. A major YouTuber rookie mistake is I was clearing some extra space as I was downloading, and as I cleared it all off, I use my iPhone to record a lot of this if I'm not using a GoPro or other things. But I got an error on my computer here that basically said it crashed. So I did lose a couple little segments. So I just wanted to share with you what that was. At the end, if you can see, is when I laid everything out and began the edit. Started to put everything in the bag, as well as I did choose the kind of coyote sand colored bag. So after I did get everything laid out, is I did get everything that I wanted in the brand new bag. So I was able to get that, and it was stuffed to the gills. I was not able to feel comfortable. I did get the canteen in. I was not comfortable with getting the large med kit that I keep in my truck in, just because it took up too much space, and wherever it was going to need to be, it was either going to be buried or it was just insecure, but it was just too much. So that was one of the things that I had also too, is it has a lot of space, but also things were just kind of floating around, and at first I was just trying to see if I could get everything in there, and I needed to reorganize. So I decided to pick up some things earlier today to be able to help me kind of reorganize the new black bag that you saw, but also too is a couple little additions because I didn't want to pull from one bag to make one really kind of cool and thorough, but then again having the other one feeling like it was lacking. So that kind of drove me nuts. So I spent most of the morning tearing it all apart. I do love the bag, but it needed reorganized. I found in this type of bag that has the clamshell in it that it would probably benefit by having individual pouches to help organize, like one for fire, one for comms, one just basically for small items, and then I label them. So that's what you're going to see next, is what I did to kind of solve that problem. But anyway, forgive me for this, but I guess now back to the show. Okay, everybody, Tony here. I admit yesterday I was a little bit frustrated after getting my new Fox Tactical backpack. And I was trying to upgrade and be able to get more things in the bag here because I do have space underneath my truck, and I did want a backpack if I did have to kind of leave my vehicle behind and start to, hike it home. But after getting all these items in here, this was just still a little bit too stuffed, and the seat would not close completely over top of my backpack. Plus, it was kind of hodgepodged in there. So what I did today is I went out and got some of these little pouches. I went to Lowe's, and they had these in varying sizes for like 3 of them for $9. So they have this size here, which you can kind of tell by my hand, a little smaller guy here, and then also a larger pack. And they also came with a carabiner, and you can kind of cinch them all together. But what I did is I got all of my items together and began to categorize them so that way, as if I do have them in the backpack, I can kind of yank them out and get a hold of them a little bit easier, but have a little bit better, let's just say kind of a better organization. So what I've done is I kind of get the things together that I could use for shelter as well as cordage. These are my water items, whether or not I boil, drink, what have you. I have, this was the only guy I couldn't fit in the cup here, water purification tabs, my Sawyer, a couple 1 gallon and a couple 1 quart plastic bags, as well as this is kind of the Frontier straw that you can use directly, you know, if you want to bend over and drink right from a pond. Not that I want to. What I did do is these 2 items here, some Pringles, these items, these 2 meals, as well as my canteen, I did not put back in the bag, is because I do have, as you can see, plenty of food here. This is supposed to be a 24-hour bag, and so what I did was I figured I'm going to create a different food kit that I have in my car with some emergency water, a couple other food items, but these things I can use for emergencies and leave them in my truck. Again, I do believe in modular. If I do need to grab them or grab a little extra, I do have provisions in my truck in an extra bag, but for now, these did not make the cut in my second edit of this guy here this morning, as well as this bag. So you can kind of see is, I mean, I'm going to have a little extra, you know, space between this. This, however, as you can kind of see back down at the bottom here, what I'll probably do is keep this in the back of the truck. It's got the, what is it called? Actually a jaw spreader that I've got in here, so that way I can hang it over a fire. I've also got the strap for this inside. But what I can do with my clean canteen is I can actually strap it on down here. For transport, it'll be a little bulky, so I'll just have it sitting on the side for now. But if you can kind of see here, is I did add a first aid kit. This has some nitrile gloves, some N95 masks in it. But it was pretty comprehensive, but I didn't like the fact that if I did grab this, and God forbid I'd forget my med kit, or if for some reason I have somebody traveling, I have 2 med kits, and you know, if you need to split up. So I added this today. I had it down in my basement. I usually use it for my kayaking trips. I decided to upgrade into my bigger, what is this guy called again? Soonfire. But I like this. I can't remember how many lumens it has, but you know, it does have the ability to, you know, if you push here, a little dim, and hit it twice, you get a strobe. So anyway, sorry about that. But I did like to add this. I figured, why keep this in a drawer at home when if I do need it in my truck or what have you. So I added that today. But if you can see, as I've gathered things together into tools, we'll go in this pouch. This is kind of my tool section, whether or not that's morale reading, but just to keep these guys together. A little bit of navigation with my compass and my right in the ring. These are nav comms over here, and basically putting some knickknacks in there. And this will be the stuff that I'll have kind of in a little admin pouch, just to be able to have at the ready. But other than that, is I feel a lot better now, as well as I think these things will not just be kind of floating around in here. So I'm going to go ahead and put these guys together and see if actually today I did achieve my goal of getting everything in there and packed a little bit better too. Only other thing is I did decide to add, since I always keep my you know, my extra power chargers charged, I figured I'm going to use this, because if I do have to, you know, be out for a bit and I would use my anchor and eventually it dies, I have to use a USB to charge my anchor. This I could leave in the sun, as well as I've got the hand crank, and this also has solar powered too. So figured for a little redundancy there, I'll just keep my anchor in the truck that I use for work, and that's what I'm going to do for now. So let me put this thing together and see if it works. Okay guys, I finished putting everything back here in the bag, and I must say that I'm real pleased with how everything turned out, especially even where I can keep the my clean canteen. I just got a carabiner in the bottom here, but I've got all my admin stuff, basically headlamp and a few other items and a charger and things I may want to get to right away. But it's just kind of nice to have everything as far as comms and navigation right in through here. You know, and just having things a little bit better organized. And what I also like is that through having these pouches here, I've got them labeled first aid right on top, but I can just kind of go through each different section, yank out what I want without having to disturb everything. But I'm much happier now, and I'll probably get a better night's sleep after you know, kind of thinking it over last night. But anyway, definitely a thumbs up on the bag. It was my deal to have to kind of figure out a better organization for it, but I think the pouches are the way to go. and I'll probably use that for a few of my other bags in the future. Now all I have to do is just put the other one back together and organize it in the same way I did this one, and I would say that this project on editing my go bags has been a complete success. Oh, and everybody, a quick by the way, does fit under there, canteen here, cinch it on the bottom, and we got everything else off to the side. So looks like this is going to be a win. And one final note, I'm really also very happy with the way this guy turned back out. A couple of the additions that I picked up today, just to make sure that this remained balanced. Not that I was pulling all the cool stuff out of this guy to put it in the other one. Really happy with the way this turned out. So again, I've got a couple other vehicles, or whether or not I take this when I go kayaking or camping. Plus, I also have this little guy now who's kind of sad and lonely and empty. So that just gives me another reason to maybe go back out and get some new toys. So anyway, overall, happy with the way the bags turned out, and hope maybe it gave you guys some, good insight and info. But it is good to sometimes take an edit every now and then, pull things out, see what you've got. Some things need to be charged up, refreshed, replace some food. So anyway, that's it. Thanks to everybody out there, and this is Tony signing out.